You know what I hate?
What?
When people don't show up on time for Zoom because they can't figure out how they work.
Oh, dude, I know. It's so annoying, especially when they forget their weights. Like, come on, guys, come prepared.
Wait, what?
You said Zumba, right? Like the Zumba? No? Hello, and welcome back to The Real Deal, Ball State's premier entertainment news show. I'm your host, Marcos Carranza.
And I'm Nate Richard. Wait. Can you hear me? I think I'm muted.
Nate, this isn't a Zoom call.
I mean, maybe it is. I think it's starting to leak into my reality. I feel like I'm in the Matrix.
No, little boy Nate, don't take the happy pills.
Nah, don't worry. It's just an Advil. I'm getting headaches from staring at screens all day.
Huh? Oh, yeah, me too, dude. I was just reading a segment. Ben, what do you have for us?
Well, Marcos, if small screens are giving you some trouble, how about news about the big screens? Specifically, the newest blockbuster release since theaters around the nation closed due to the pandemic, Tenet. While critics mostly praised Tenet's filmmaking and acting, the real question was how much money was going to be made and how many people were going to see it. Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Tenet, with a budget of $205 million, was released on September 3rd in about 2,810 theaters, grossing at just over $20 million domestically, according to Box Office Mojo. While at first glance that doesn't seem like a very promising number, one does have to realize that it was released in about half the amount of theaters there are in America, not to mention that these theaters that are open have about half capacity because of the current situation. So with that in mind, 20 million doesn't sound so bad. Currently, Tenet has about 36 million total domestic and 239 million worldwide. There are some people, however, saying that it was still too early for a film of this caliber with a budget this big to be released at this time. Even with the worldwide numbers, it's been 2.5 weeks since its release, and it still hasn't earned its money back yet. This has led a lot of people to count Tenet as a loss for Warner Brothers, mostly because this was the movie they were hoping to bring people back to movie theaters and finally have a sense of normality in the movie business. On top of the fact that this film was directed by Christopher Nolan, director of the critically acclaimed Dark Knight trilogy, therefore he should get people's butts in seats for the film to make a profit relatively quickly. Since it's been over 2 weeks, however, people are skeptical of whether or not to call this experiment a success. So, should Warner Bros. Be raising a glass to celebrate a new accomplishment? Should they be nervous for what's to come? Should people calling it a success realize the amount of money it needs to make in order for it to be called a success? Should the detractors be aware of the current situations happening around the world in order to have a grasp of what can be done versus what should have been done? I think only time will tell. Back to you, Nate.
Thank you for another one of your great segments, Ben. We're looking forward to one more year with you.
You know who I'm looking forward to seeing less of this semester, though?
Nate,
What? No, Nate, is everything okay at home, buddy? We're going to have a little powwow after our next segment.
then who were you thinking about?
Abigail Nicole Perry. I hate her.
You know she's gonna fly through the air like Superman to get here, to get revenge since you called her out. You know that, right?
I said her whole name, but she would cut me in half with her laser eyes like a baby or something.
You've been watching The Boys?
No, but we have Parker totally not held hostage for his next segment. Take it away, Parker.
We live in a very different world than just a couple years ago. Ignoring the world ending outside of our windows, our media consumption has probably changed the most over the past couple of years. Gone are the days of watching cable television, advertisements interrupting our shows, or waiting for more content. The entire world of media is literally at our fingertips, and that has made us all pompous babies who need a constant flow of content right now, which ties in perfectly with one of Amazon Prime's best shows, The Boys. their recent release of the season 2 and the insane review bombing and backlash that is going on right now. The Boys originally released season 1 all at once. It was smooth sailing exactly like every other show being produced now. Then the problem came with The Boys season 2's singular change on how the show would be distributed to fans. Instead of the entire season all at once, season 2 is being released on a weekly basis. How scandalous to think we have to wait a full week in between episodes. These barbaric conditions violate the Geneva Conventions. We're going to have to revive the Nuremberg trials just to hold Amazon accountable for this atrocity. What's next? Advertisements in between my shows? No. End scene. So in case you can't tell from my stellar acting, I have nothing but contempt for those who are actively complaining about this. This isn't anything new, so why has it become such an issue? Up until about 4 years ago, this was the norm for almost every single show being released. Weekly releases have been a part of your life unless you're under 10 years old, which if you are, you should not be watching The Boys in the first place. Just do me a favor and scrub through the reviews on Amazon's own website for The Boys. Countless one-star reviews solely complaining about the weekly releases. If that's not enough, go to forum boards like Reddit to see hundreds of babies whining about it. Our gross, impatient attitudes and entitlement to our favorite shows is holding us back from actual criticisms of shows and genuine discourse about what we're passionate about. Though, taking into consideration everything, can we really blame them? I mean, with all this crap that people are subjected to this year, it's reasonable that people want to vent about something. If that means whining online to strangers, you do you, man. Just keep a lid on it sometimes. At the very least, people are not complaining about the actual content of The Boys. Season 2 is pretty good. Not spectacular, but given that only 6 episodes have been released, we can't really judge an incomplete show. Just talk about how cool it was to see those lasers shoot from his eyes and go like, and then when they came in, they got that. Just to talk about the latest episodes with your friends, like what Nate and I do. So next time you're typing up your favorite curse words to describe weekly releases, take a deep breath, calm down, and if you still have to, just do it on some document nobody is ever going to read. Please don't actually skew the ratings of a show just because of something so dumb. See you next time. I'm Parker Carlson.
Thanks, Parker, for that super segment.
Yikes.
What? I like that transition.
What has this show come to? Maybe we should just end things.
Like the Netflix movie.
Like another streaming service. First Amazon Prime, then Hulu, and now Noah's streaming in for his segment online.
At this point, we should start our own streaming service.
Oh, yeah. Let's call it Parker Plus. Just free 24-hour footage of Parker watching Top Gear and eating cereal. Sometimes he sits in the shower and cries, but that's for our Parker Plus Prime Premium subscribers. It's super exclusive.
But before we finish the post-production premiere of Parker Plus Prime Premium, let's log into Noah's segment. Noah?
Thank you, Noah, and welcome back. We really missed you last year. I, for one, spent all my time staring at a picture of you while listening to Lana Del Rey and crying.
No more tears, Marcus.
You're right. We have to keep it together for our final word. Only then can we cry.
Stay tuned for our final word.
Earlier this week, Microsoft announced a purchase of ZeniMax Media. ZeniMax is the parent company of Bethesda Softworks, best known for their massive game franchises of Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series. ZeniMax also owns id Software, which has games like Wolfenstein, Doom, and Rage, and others under their umbrella. Now, this is a major move for Microsoft, as it expands their library of first-party developers significantly from last year, making the company's potential for exclusive games much better than it has been for the last few generations. It's no secret that Sony and PlayStation have been steadily building and executing on making a long list of home runs in terms of exclusive games, which for many are system sellers. Spider-Man and God of War often come to mind in this regard. But Microsoft and ZeniMax have had a pretty close relationship over the last several years. And while I can't say that I'm surprised that this would happen eventually, I hadn't expected it just yet. This strategy is particularly interesting because of the next generation of consoles are slated to be available to the public during the holiday season later this year. This poses the question to many gamers like myself what this relationship with Microsoft will look like in terms of exclusivity. I, for one, find it hard to imagine a world where players across different consoles and platforms can't play the newest Elder Scrolls, which was teased a few years ago at a PlayStation conference. I feel like the most likely case for this newfound relationship between Microsoft and ZeniMax will likely be that the former would fund a project solely for Xbox and Game Pass users, while most of the flagship titles like Doom, Elder Scrolls, and the like will still be available across platforms. And although these games are for the most part single-player experiences, I would imagine that games such as Doom, which have a very active and dedicated multiplayer community, would still be widely accessible to most gamers, with crossplay becoming more pervasive in the gaming world today. What do you think will become of this? And are you excited? I'm Marcos Carranza, and this has been my final word.
Last Sunday, during the Emmys, Marvel Studios dropped the first official trailer for their Disney Plus series, WandaVision, which will feature the return of Scarlet Witch and the once-dead Vision, played by Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. The trailer teases the series as a mix between a spoof/throwback to old-school sitcoms and a much more trippy entry in the MCU. Joining Olsen and Bettany in the show are MCU veterans Kat Dennings and Randall Park, reprising their roles as Darcy and Jimmy Woo from the Thor and Ant-Man movies. Catherine Hahn playing a mysterious neighbor, and rising star Tiana Paris as a grown-up Monica Rambeau, who we first saw as an 11-year-old in Captain Marvel. There's been a lot of speculation about this new show, from whether it will feature the return of Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, who we last saw in Avengers Age of Ultron, as well as what the series will set up for the future of Phase 4, especially as Marvel head honcho Kevin Feige has said that this series will directly tie into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The trailer also reminds us that Vision did die in the events of Avengers Infinity War at the hands of Scarlet Witch, which Catherine Hahn's character seems to know, so who knows how they'll explain his return. Another big question mark is the show's release date. Originally, the first Marvel Disney Plus show was supposed to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was supposed to come out in August, but thanks to the current pandemic, that didn't happen. Black Widow was also supposed to be the launching point for Phase 4, but according to several reports, that film is also probably being pushed back. There's a lot of speculation that WandaVision will launch in December, a week after the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm Nate Richard, and that has been my final word.
Well, Nate, aren't we just two of the cutest hosts around? Thanks for watching The Real Deal. If you want more from us, check out our Facebook, Twitter, and website for more entertainment news. I'm Marcos Carranza.
And I'm Nate Richard, and this has been The Real Deal.